And we're back after this short message from our sponsor. Do not touch the microphone cable. With do not touch the microphone cable, you can enjoy podcast recordings without having interruptions. So yeah, please do not touch the microphone cable today. I will very much try to keep my fingers away from all the cables. Apparently, like one of them is kind of fiddly. So
it's normally my trick.
Disconnections
used to be my forte on this show.
But, what happened? I was always feeling so superior.
Yeah, I know. I like to think maybe this was active cat in the background on your side, actually, Daniel, this disconnection.
Maybe. You'll never know.
If I've got my editing skills down well, we'll see. Then maybe it's just a little blip and nobody really noticed anything. So people are going to wonder, what are we even talking about? And on that note, what are we even talking about? I showed off my keyboard, you got disconnected, but before the intro, you left everybody on a cliffhanger. You've got news.
I got news, yes. I wanted to wait a little bit until this is all basically moving along and very all cleared up and everything. But I'm moving cities. I am right now. I'm in the very south of Germany in Augsburg, and I'm going to move to the very north to Hamburg.
Dang.
So still a burg, but a different one. They speak slightly different there. They eat more fish than here in the south. They have significantly less hills and mountains.
Okay.
But yeah, they have a very fun city. So I'm moving there.
A fun, vibrant, I think bigger city than where you are at the moment.
Way bigger.
Yeah.
Hamburg is the third biggest city in Germany, I think. Might be the second biggest, but it might be the third. I think it's the third. And Augsburg is the 17th.
Do you get there? Are you going to get there by train? You're going to be moving by train once you go up the country? Yeah. Yeah. I might have to splice some Journey Don't Stop Believing into the show, Daniel, because you're just a small-time boy.
I am just a small-time boy. I'm taking the midnight train going to Hamburg, but no, I have, you don't see this. My background looks kind of normal, but just off the camera, and I'm not touching the laptop and moving the camera right now because otherwise the microphone will disconnect or whatever, but just off camera, there's a stack that is chest high of still folded moving cartons. It is huge. It's we have 120 boxes, and so we are actually going to rent a lorry, as they say. I'm sending you this picture now, and I'm going to post it later on the Mastodons, and then our fans can appreciate the amount of packing. I already packed 3 of those, but so it's 117 to go.
Oof. That's quite a bit of packing.
Also, there's a bit of overhead. It's probably gonna be more 80 or something. But there was a bundle deal, so I bought them all in one package on one pallet.
Better to have too many than get halfway through packing and have too few. So,
right. And this way, I can also pack them a little bit more on by topic. I'm going to number them and then actually write down the contents on the side, but also have a one was that database, but there's going to be an Apple Note or something that just says number 17 contains Lego and lamps.
So you're going to have a manifest, as it were.
Yes. Manifest. That's such a good word. Yes, exactly.
When we emigrated UK to New Zealand, that was the best house move ever for packing stuff, because we had a removals company that specialized in overseas transportation of all your stuff and all of that. And the reason it was the best was because they came in as a team, and within 3.5, 4 hours or so, they'd done the entire house. They just went through, and it's poof, 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 poof.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And, we're sort of sat there hey, do you need a hand? Can we help? And they're like, this is literally our job. Get the F out of the way, pretty much.
Nice. Yeah, we are getting a moving company, but it's we're getting the offer where we pack everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they like carry everything and drive the lorry. But they but they will disassemble, I think, various like big cupboards.
Yep.
But other than that, yeah, like, and they will kind of like, they will, what's it called? They will wrap the bikes and stuff like that in cellophane or whatever. But the dealers, we pack the stuff into the boxes, which is fine by me. Like, I have the manifest.
That's not a bad deal. Yeah.
And so, but also I need to get rid of a lot of stuff because the new apartment is going to be one room less. So that's the other thing. Like, I can't just like get a company to just pack everything and unpack everything in the new apartment, because like apartment prices or rental prices are quite a bit higher in Hamburg than they are in Augsburg. So we are getting one less room. Yeah. And so like there's going to be a bit of a reduction like in books and stuff like that. And also like just today I actually sold a few pieces of old hardware. Like someone actually bought my PlayStation VR for not a lot of money, but like it's way better than throwing it away.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of like the effect that a house move can do for sort of making you have to kind of think through like, you end up having to ask the ultimate question, like instead of just going, oh, I can hang on to this and put this in this cupboard or whatever, the question then ends up being, am I taking this with me? And that forces that one, right? You either sell it, you junk it, you take it with you. So yeah,
that's also why I've got to start this process now, because having those decisions takes a bit of time. And also, like, if I decide, hey, I don't want to keep this, I don't want to throw things away that might have value for people. So then I have to. Yeah. I don't know. Like in the end, if I'm getting too tired of it, I might do it. But like I'm gonna try my best to find good homes for things. There used to be this collection place for people, like where people just like dumped their like still valuable stuff, but they didn't want to sell, just give away. But they closed down, which is kind of sad because that would be so cool. But yeah, I'm sending people like, or gifting some things. I'm putting some things on eBay or the local variation of Craigslist.
Yep.
So yeah,
doing the big move. That's going to be interesting. So Telemetry Deck is going to be based half out of Hamburg now, with you being there, right?
Yeah, like so the official company address is gonna stay in Augsburg, just as it was always. But I'm gonna be a 99% remote worker. I'm still gonna be in Augsburg every now and then. Like the train ride is not too horrible, and there's other Augsburgian friends that I wanna still continue meeting. So like I'm gonna be here every now and then. But yeah, I'm gonna be fully remote again. Luckily, the new apartment does have a Daniel's office, so that is possible. And then,
nice. I was going to ask about that because, slightly biased or whatever, but I wanted to make sure you still had your podcasting zone in the downsizing.
There is, yeah. So yeah, we have like the layout is kind of cool. Like it's like one very huge room that is very like, I don't know, very long and not very and a bit narrow, and that's kind of living room and kitchen and dining area. And there's of course a bedroom, and then there's my small office. And so that's kind of cool. Well, even though it turns out that Alex is gonna be working from home every now and then as well, so she might work from the kitchen table or something.
Right. Oh, yeah, I'm sure you'll figure it all out, and you'll have. I guess eventually you'll figure out things like co-working spaces and stuff like that as well to maybe.
That is the other thing. Have you heard about the Chaos Computer Club?
Yes.
It's this thing where like weird people and nerds and left-leaning computer people and security computer people and queer computer people, I don't know, they all mingle. And that was founded in Hamburg. Chaos. It's very chaotic. That was founded in Hamburg, and there's like a lot of like representation in Hamburg. So I'm gonna try and connect to people there. Also, there's various other co-working spaces, startup hubs, that kind of thing. So like I'm gonna have to explore that all. Like I have like a list of things to check out and a few people to already talk to, but I think it's gonna take some time.
I've got a suggestion for you. It's very much a me thing, a biased thing, but
Sure.
if you're going to new coffee shops, you should keep a tally and assess them and do like a coffee crawl of all the best coffee shops in Hamburg as you're in this discovery phase, and post about it, like post a
I
photograph of
love the
yourself with
idea,
that.
but my friend, I'm moving. Like my bank account is going to be so empty. It's only going to be like home coffee for me for a long while. But no, I might actually do that. You know, like what I might take notes, you know, and then post them on the socials. Just like,
we'll
okay,
have to
this coffee
we'll
shop,
have
4 out of 5.
to yeah, we'll have to set up a little buy Daniel a coffee thing, and then maybe we can send you on a mission.
Right. And every time it ticks over €5, I will like, oh, okay, I gotta take the laptop, go out.
Got to do it now. Yep.
Yeah, I gotta do it now.
Oh, well, you're on the move. I've been on the move in the last week. Not moving anywhere, but I've been
Yes.
been
You've been on
overseas.
an aeroplane.
I have indeed. So some listeners of the show might be aware, but I haven't been very. I haven't travelled very much in recent years. I've had a lot of reasons not to. What health issues and various bits and bobs. But last week I travelled for the first time overseas since we emigrated to New Zealand. I went to Australia. It's my first time going to Australia, first time visiting Melbourne, and actually the first time meeting most of my team from my quote unquote day job. So that was the purpose. That was the reason. Melbourne was very warm. It was very cool. I really enjoyed. They've got a really cool tram system that sort of crosses over the city, so you can. The thing that was really cool for me was that in the center of the city, the trams are free. So you've got a free tram zone, and you can just hop on, hop off, and kind of zip around
Oh,
the
that's
city.
amazing.
Yeah, so I loved that. Loved getting to see a load of people that I think very highly of and care quite a bit about. It was great to see my teams, people that I've managed and people that I work with around them. Um, and really, it was a working trip. In all honesty, like I couldn't tell you much about, like, oh, this place is really cool in Melbourne because I was mostly dealing with just being in the office and this, that, and the other. But yeah, big trip for me, and I'm definitely going to go back at some point. Like the plan, a better plan for me, rather than just going and doing a few days of work, would actually be to go one side of the weekend and spend some time actually as a tourist looking
Oh
around
yeah,
Melbourne
like
or
Melbourne has a
something.
racetrack.
Yeah, it does. It's got a lot of things, and yeah, similar to yourself though, it's a situation of it is much bigger than where I currently live, and that was actually quite fun. It's probably 5 or 6 times at least bigger than Welly in a lot of ways.
Oh
Uh,
wow, I didn't know that.
yeah.
But yeah, you allowed me. You graciously gave me your flight numbers so I could
Hmm.
follow along.
Yes.
You were on an Airbus A320, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty
I,
standard
th-
issue
I
here.
think it was the
Yeah.
A320 Neo, but I can't tell you the exact number. I forgot it. But you kind of sent
I'd
me a
have to
picture of
look it
the
up.
airplane wing, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, of course.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it
Yeah.
was kind of fun to watch along while you were flying.
I I quite enjoy air travel. To be honest, I mean, put mentally to one side the impact on the environment and everything else about it, but like takeoff and landings, I find really fun. I like being able to look down on everything from up there, and after some of those moments, though, it is kind of just travel. You're just sat there waiting, so
Yeah,
there
but
is
also
that
like the
too.
sheer technology of it, you know, like oh yeah,
Yes.
you have this human-made device that weighs like 100 tons, and it just
Hmm.
flies. That's just
Yeah,
like
it's
amazing. Like oh yeah, I wish it wasn't
dragging
so
us
bad for
through
the
the air.
environment, and I wish it wasn't so horrible being squeezed into these economy class seats.
Yep, yep, for sure. I'm certainly leaning more towards seat upgrades and things in my older age now. I felt the economy class crammed in this.
Right.
So,
But so how did your days, like how many days did you go? Like 3 or something, right?
yeah, travelled out Monday afternoon. Had an evening there just to myself. Got checked into the hotel and all of that, and then had two days with my teams in the office, catching up with people, doing that sort of stuff. Um, Went out with some friends on the Tuesday evening. And then, yeah, Wednesday evening, I just caught up with a friend, and we just had takeout and sat on the waterfront that's nearby in the Docklands area. And then Thursday morning, I was straight back home. It was very much a flying visit, as it were.
Fantastic. Oh yeah, and you met a friend of the show, Jelly, right?
I did indeed, yes. Yes, so it was awesome to finally meet Jelly in real life. I've worked with him, like I say, for the last 2.5 years or so. He's a brilliant fella, and yeah, we got to have breakfast together on the Wednesday. Him, me, and some others in the team. So that was fantastic as well. But yeah, so that was my trip to Australia, or Aussie in the New Zealand
Fantastic.
vernacular.
I'm so happy for you that, like, because I know that's like that was your first time out of the country, and
Mm-hmm.
like after the initial hit of COVID and everything, and so like it's really awesome that you had such a pleasant or good experience most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, took a bit of doing. I mean, we're still pretty COVID conscious at home as well for various health reasons, and so for me, the trip didn't end when I got back on the Thursday. Like I had to isolate somewhat at home for a few days,
Yeah,
so
fair.
it ended up being another. Yeah, it was Monday after the Thursday before I came out of home ISO. So it was a bigger trip than just those days, but worth
Of
it to
course.
see people, worth it to have the experience. And yeah, probably not going to repeat the experience anytime immediately, but certainly within the next year or so, it would be nice to do again. Like I say, see more
Also,
in Melbourne. Yep.
I also self-isolated kind of because last weekend was our going away party.
Mm-hmm.
We invited a few people and told everyone they are not allowed to come in unless they are dressed up. So we were all dressed up. It was really fun. I had an octopus onesie.
You sent me some photos, but I definitely want to link anything if you've posted anywhere. Linkable.
It's not for the internet. Send me a DM. Send me a DM if you want to if you want pictures of the octopus onesie.
Buy you a drink first, eh?
Oh, speaking of, like this leads me to my next task, because I am now, like, remember a few episodes ago when we were talking about the fact that Lisa actually listens, like my coworker and co-founder of Telemetry Deck, actually listens to this show, and so we gave her a task to say, like, Lisa, post a unicorn emoji or send me a unicorn emoji via Signal, I think, and then we'll know if she's listening. And so now I want to give another task, but I haven't really figured out what task I want to give. I'm just like so thrilled by the amount of power, like that can make people send me things. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, I have a test. Wherever you are, Lisa, if you are listening to the show, take a selfie, post it somewhere, and send Daniel the link. All right. So
like
in the
that.
moment where you are,
I like
grab
that.
yourself.
It's kind of like be real.
Yeah, and honestly, if listeners are listening to this, like,
yeah, I was
what
just
the hell?
say.
Okay, what's going on here? Like, feel free to join in. If you're listening
like
to
right
if
now.
you're still with us at this point, listening to everything we've talked about randomly so far, take a selfie, post it to the internet, drop us a link. You can email us very easily at contact@waitingforreview.com. And when we wrap up the show, we'll link our socials, but they're always in the show notes as well.
# waiting for a selfie.
Yes.
All right. Is that your nudge to actually talk about some nerd topics?
Some tech. Maybe.
Tech. Okay.
Yes. Some tech.
I have a short one, and then I want to know about your adventures.
Go for it.
So what I did is I like what I'm basically doing all day, every day these days is either I'm like way deep into the implementation of OpenID, which gives me nightmares, or I'm causing our query servers to like run out of memory. And so I have like two things that are currently troubling the query servers, which one of them is the fact that we have like thorny data, and like the thorny data, for as a recap, is sometimes a specific day in the telemetric data set gets thorny in a way that any query that touches that specific day will suddenly fail. And we have some indication of what causes this, but we still haven't found out conclusively. So, for example, if, I don't know, April 1st is thorny, then any query that's from March 15th to April 15th or whatever that will touch April 1st will then fail with a weird error message, and that's kind of frustrating. And this hasn't happened for a while because one of the things that causes the thorny data apparently is compaction, which is a performance improvement technique that we still have like disabled. But I really want to enable that because I would make our queries way faster and like use less CPU and stuff like that. And so, like, unbeknownst to everyone, I have been running all these experiments with my coworker on the server side, like just trying to find out like what causes this. And one thing that causes it, we already know that, is commas in keys. And so if you send a parameter to telemetry deck that's something like a comma b equals 1, then that will cause the segment to be thorny. So we're filtering out commas. And in fact, we are now listing characters now. So like we have all the letters of the English alphabet. We have underscores and dots and a few more, and those are all the allowed characters, and everything else will be replaced by underscores. But still, there is a few there's still like some segments that I know if I enable compaction for them, they will become thorny. And so we're running a few more tests now to find out, but these tests take ages. But yeah, that's like stressing the server away a lot. The other thing is that we are we have different like databases on the servers, but we have one database where all the data is in there. We run stuff like global queries about like how's the state of the iOS ecosystem, how's the state of the Android ecosystem, that kind of stuff. Turns out, if every one of our customers is sending different parameters with their events to us. Like, for example, one person would send like, oh, the pizza oven is done and it was at 300 degrees. And then someone else will be sending like, hey, my user is onboarding and the user like selected color is green. And we get all these new fields in the database, and they should be able to handle that. But it turns out we've kind of like went over a threshold of some sort. and now that is also starting to cause problems. So what I'm doing is, like, it's not causing problems as in like things are completely failing, but like some queries are suddenly very slow. Some queries are also running out of memory. So I had to bump up the size of a few machines, which is expensive and frustrating, but now it works again. But also this kind of helps me decide that I'm accelerating the namespaces feature, which is a hidden secret feature that some of TelemetryDeck's customers have already enabled, which is you get your own database, like completely separated from everything else.
It's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah.
That is good, because then like queries go way faster because the server only has to look at your segments and your database. It also means that if you send like broken data, that's your problem.
The thorns are in your data.
That's kind of cool. And also it means like we can like very gently selectively enable compaction for individual customers. But I'm kind of wary of that still, because if that breaks, then I have to read out all of the data. The downside right now is that We have like one huge message queue where all the data comes in, right? And so for each of these databases, we call them namespaces because that's hang on. For each of those namespaces, I'll explain in a second.
I can roll with namespaces. It kind of makes sense.
Right. We have to have a separate thread or separate task running that kind of filters out just this organization's data and then puts it into the separate namespace / database. And that, like, I have like I think 10-ish of these running right now. Like one is for just like telemetry, like infrastructure, which is an organization that I've created that just like contains data about telemetry infrastructure. And then a few large-ish customers who kind of wrote in and said, hey, these very complicated queries that I'm running are kind of slow. Like, can we do something about it? And then I was like, I have this feature half finished. Do you want to try it? And so for them, it works fantastically. But the problem is, I'm running into a scaling problem, or I'm gonna run into a scaling problem if I enable that thing for 20 more big customers. So I'm kind of like trying to think through what can be done here, and there's a few options, but we can go into those I think in later shows. But that's what I've been doing these days. Lots of server stuff.
I get lots of little ideas off the cuff, just sort of listening to you playing it back. But I'm sure these are all things you've probably explored in one way or another.
Right. Most of them are kind of cost issues. Like, for example, I could split up namespaces on the ingest API and put them in different message queues. That is a very possible thing to do. But message queues cost, like a single message queue costs a lot of money. So like compared to the data that goes through, and also backing the data up then suddenly gets way harder, because right now backups is just like get the data off the message queue and write it into files. But if I have multiple message queues that gets dynamically allocated, then I need to have a process that creates the message queues, but also creates a backup process for them, and also creates the tasks that then pull the data off the message queue. But that gets kind of expensive. The other thing is like the task that pulls the message of the data of the message queue is, I can run like, I don't know, 20 of them on one server, and probably more, but I haven't tried it out. Like, so like 20-ish should be okay. 40-ish would probably also okay, but like 1,000-ish, no. I also could make it a paid feature, but then I would like if you were, but that would mean as a free customer, you will never get to experience the full power of an operational telemetry deck, which means that like you don't really know like how much cool stuff you can do, you know?
Yeah, it's like, for me, this reminds me of recently I've just bought a new VPS. So the server that I'm using to host my websites and any other projects and bits and bobs, I'm moving it from Linode over to a local provider in New Zealand, or at least I'm starting that process. And it reminds me of that. And as much as you'll choose a private server that is either a shared CPU scenario, or you can choose a dedicated. And your namespacing reminds me of the division between shared and dedicated, right? It's like, shared still works. It's just not going to be quite as performant as some hosting that is carved out on dedicated, separated hardware. I know it's not literally that, but like the difference of functionality reminds me of that from on a customer level, that sort of choice.
It is, yeah. I think it's just like I need to take one more step back, think about how I want the architecture to look like, right? Like before that, I had to think about like the databases on the cluster, but now I have to like think one more thing, and all the interaction between all those things, and like these processes need to be updated, like if things change, if the customer changes things or adds another app or whatever. So I think there's a few problems I need to think through. And also like I don't want to be locked into AWS. Like everything I do right now is very much agnostic of AWS, like as much as possible, at least. Like a few things like the message queue is Amazon Kinesis, okay, but I can replace that with Kafka. But if I like build this too big, then it's becoming like that becomes very hard to move to another provider or like mixed providers or something. So that's the other thing. So yeah, I'm in the process. If you are an expert at these things and want to talk about it, like hit me up on the Mastodon. If you are an amateur and just want to talk about it, maybe also hit me up, but like I might not have so much time because I'm kind of busy. But you were talking about your VPS and about Linux, or I was thinking, oh, VPS that runs Linux, obviously. And that reminds me, you ordered something.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So I've been kind of leading up to this for a while, and people who've listened to some of the previous shows and have read my Mastodon feed or whatever have probably been able to pick up on this. But yeah, I've bought a PC laptop. I'm going to immediately install Linux over the top of the Windows installation on it. And this is going to be my new main dev machine. And it marks a transition for me all the way over into playing with Android Studio and Kotlin multi-platform and Compose multi-platform. And I've got mixed feelings. It's like I'm looking forward to playing with the new hardware. I'm kind of looking forward to setting up the rig and all of that. It's also a departure for me off of using Apple services sort of throughout. Because I've been really embedded with everything in the Apple ecosystem now for probably easily since 2009, 2010. So that's 15, 16 years. But essentially I realized that I was starting to sort of like, I was half-assing things, and I want to whole-ass things, Daniel, with all of it.
Whole ass.
Yeah. And some of this has also been born out of, I tried running Linux on my MacBook Air. That was successful because Asahi Linux is actually pretty good. But then I was immediately running into issues in terms of like, okay, to get Android Studio working, you kind of end up needing to add a new version of Java into its local folder. You need to mess around trying to get some of the Chromebook-based SDKs if you want to run simulators and things. And all of it seemed possible, but I kept running into these walls, and I'm like...
Yeah, it's a lot of fiddling.
It's a lot of fiddling and not a lot of coding. And
you want to use, you just want to use Linux, which just works famously.
Well, this is the thing, right? There'll still be more fiddling.
Oh, last time already, sorry.
Maybe, but I got to be honest with you, like, when I've installed Linux in the last year, testing on things, a lot of stuff does just work these days. If you pick the right distribution, if you have got it matched to the hardware that you've got, then...
Oh yeah, good question. Like, tell our listeners, what distribution are you using so they can tell you that it's the wrong one?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm planning to use Fedora, and I'm planning to use the KDE windowing environment because it's nice and snappy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What what's is there like a decision behind Fedora, or is it just like the one that you know the most?
Yeah, there's a couple of decisions. One is that it tends to have relatively up-to-date software compared to some of the other distributions, but because you've got that dynamic, right? Some of the distributions will are very considered in when they bring new software in, and so you can be waiting a while for the latest version of things. And so that's all the way to one end of the dynamic, unless you want to be rolling on like an unstable version of the OS. And then to the other end of the dynamic, you've got distributions like famously Arch Linux, where it's a rolling release, and you've got the latest of everything each time, come what may. And then Fedora seems to be somewhere back from that in the middle. So... again, people who know all of this a lot better than I do may well want to dispute my opinion. Feel free, but that's how it looks to me. So I'm like, yeah, that feels like the sweet spot. So yeah, that's largely the reasoning. The other is that Asahi Linux is based on Fedora, and so I've been messing around a bit.
Previous experience, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have
But
you like?
to,
Yeah.
I was going to say, to be clear though, Daniel, you've ran Linux in the past, like
Of course.
prior
Of
to
course.
using
Yeah.
Mac OS. So it's sort of, it's new again, but also going backwards slightly for me in some ways.
Right.
So
I've done. I've been using Gentoo for ages, which is a horrible user experience, but it's like really fun because you get
yes,
to really learn how the Linux works because you're not doing anything but maintaining it.
watching it compile.
I've been using Ubuntu on the servers because it kind of just works.
Yep.
I was using my first Linux was SUSE, I think.
Yeah, I remember that. Which I think,
yeah,
I'm trying to remember my lineages. I don't know whether like Fedora was related to that in some angle or what.
might be, yeah. And then
Again,
also
I've been
for the
out of the loop
longest
for
time,
15, 16 years. So.
I used Slackware Linux.
Yes.
Because that was the best. Because I actually like Slack. The name comes from this weird little pseudo religion, and what's the official name? Not the Church of the Church of the Subgenius, where they pray to Bob, and Bob is this guy with a like pipe in his mouth. Like
this sounds very chaos computing.
Bob is the subgenius,
adjacent.
and the most important principle of the Church of the Subgenius is slack. You just gotta slack around.
Okay.
And I am like actually an actual like ordained minister of that church. Like I have a thing and everything.
Would it be against the religion for you to bless my laptop when it arrives, Daniel? That sounds like something.
I will gladly bless your laptop, remotely or in person.
In person would be awesome. But no, I coming back to the reason for this season for me, if you like, it's I wanted to see, and I realized that sort of fighting against trying to make stuff work on my Air was not a good thing. And broader than this, why am I even bothering? Wasn't I a Mac developer, an iOS developer? What am I doing? Like, well, I decided, and it's been a decision that's been coming for a while, but I think about a month or so ago, things started to click that I really, really wanted to start getting my apps on different platforms. So I'm not getting rid of all my Macs. Just to be clear about that, I've got a lovely Mac Studio on this desk. It will still be available to me to use however I want to use it. But for at least a few months, it will be relegated to being a build-only device. So I'm going to be taking iMessage, all the personal stuff off of it and just turning it into something that I use to compile code. And that will then let me lean into this other environment full-time and find out, do I love it? Do I hate it? Where are the edges? What's working? What's not? So that's what I mean by sort of whole-assing it, right? Like I'm going to be all in, at least for a while, to see, well, okay, how does this feel? How is this working? And on the flip side of this, it's going to be part of my effort to try and get the app running first on Android, secondarily on Linux, on the desktop on Linux. And obviously I'm also building, in parallel with this is the iOS version that should be there as well, being built in this new project. We'll see how it goes. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. There is an outcome I'm driving to though, and that is rebuild of the app that is working on iOS and Android, being able to also have the app work on desktop environments, including Raspberry Pi Linux. And that last one is the one that I think I'm going to have the most nerd fun.
Raspberry Pi? Like,
yes.
Will that have enough power?
Should do. Yeah? Certainly. Wow. Certainly with the Pi 4 or 5. Yeah. So, one second. Yeah, I probably need to explain that one a bit. So,
because you're using all these shader effects and everything, and last that I checked, the Raspberry Pi didn't have a graphics chip.
It's got a GPU that will run basic shaders. Like, provided you're not stacking up loads of them, you can get it to do some fun stuff. So that's the point, right? So if I've got this, I'll have inside of this project, effectively, there'll be a library, just like I have for Swift packages today. I'll have a module that is the video effects engine. That has got to be as cross-platform as I can get it to be. There'll be bits around the edges of it that are local.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, on iOS, I'll still be using AV Foundation to play the videos back and send textures through into the shader stack. There'll be something else on Android. There'll be something else on desktop that will probably be, one of the FFmpeg libraries or VLC or something. But the point of all of this for me is to then land on a situation where, yes, if I want to run something on a Raspberry Pi, for example, I could. And I guess my long-term dream here, Daniel, drum roll, because this is the bigger idea, if you like.
Okay, I'm excited.
Outside of having all the apps everywhere all at once, is that I want to actually make some video hardware that is essentially a dedicated Raspberry Pi running my software, but then housed in some sort of chassis, 3D printed, knobs and buttons and things to control things. I'll probably have to get something made with somewhere like PCBWay or something like that to sort of prefab all of it.
Designed by Teenage Engineering.
Well, literally, I have a teenage 3D designer in my house. Right, my eldest son specializes in this stuff, so I'm hoping we can collaborate a little. But the plan is to make these dedicated pieces of video hardware. Ultimately,
I love that. It's Go VJ Go.
Yeah, and it's everything all at once, and it's a lot of different ideas. And of course, this is classic. Like, even my projects have projects kind of paralysis if I'm not careful. But I've realized a few things in the last few months. Like, I've stopped caring about native apps in the way that I might have done a few years ago. And what I've realized is that what I really enjoy is actually the thing that got me into app development in the first place, which is making this specific type of app. Mm-hmm. If I put all that together, and I've said this a couple of times on the show before, but like the UI is a control interface. It's if you play with audio, it's the same as a VST, right? You need some knobs, some dials, some things to tap, and then setting screens or whatever. The fact that they're currently native and done in Swift UI and use navigation stacks and stuff, like, that's just a delivery mechanism to letting people select settings.
How many knobs do you need?
Daniel. For listeners of the show, the expression on Daniel's face told me exactly where he was heading just before.
Apologies, but I love that idea because it's kind of like a DJ table, but for VJs, kind of. And it's kind of like this interface. Like, you told me about that you heard about VJs who have an iPad built into their stack with your application, which is kind of lovely. Mm-hmm. But if you have a thing that you can actually screw in one of those racks,
yes,
or that is the thing, and like you're the person who builds these things. That's awesome.
Yeah, so 3D design isn't necessarily my immediate wheelhouse of everything, but I've got somebody, like I say, in-house in my family who will be quite happy to help steer me through some of these bits. I think the thing to unwind back to from all of this for me is like, well, why did I even start playing in this area in the first place when I first made my app back in 2015? And at that time, it was the potential of the iPad actually that pulled me into iOS development in the first place. Like, here is this, slab of interface that I can craft anything I want onto for doing this sort of project. And that's what actually pulled me into this type of development and mobile development in the first place. So some of this I'm trying to recapture some of that feeling, if you like, that I feel like I've lost in recent years. And the other side of it is I can see a route here where rather than, okay, I'm going to specifically only support whatever Apple is up to, yes, I'll still support that. I'll still have my apps out there in the App Store. I'm hoping to be in the Play Store as well. That's all on the go. But to the side of all that, there's this world where it's actually my own thing in its totality if I want it to be. And the idea of having all these little dedicated hardware boxes that maybe go out into the world doing their thing under my own banner is really compelling. So
yeah, that is kind of neat.
That's the dream. Yeah.
Awesome.
We shall see.
Yeah, I love that.
Many ideas, not a lot of time. But that's part of the aim right now.
I love it. We had another topic, but I kind of want to skip it because it's just a downer.
Let's stay in the hopeful, gonna make shit kind of zone.
Right.
That I think
I'm gonna ask you this next time. So this is a teaser, which is given that many companies and many governments are working together to kind of weaken encryption and security in our personal private data. Like, for example, the UK kind of forced Apple to like reduce encryption of iCloud, stuff like that.
Yes.
So what I want to explore with you is, I think, like, what are the alternatives? Like, where can we have our data? Like, do we need to self-host? Do we need to, like, are there services we can trust? Are there, like, configurations that we can do? And I think that's a topic that fits very well with your Linux exploration as well. So maybe that can be the topic of, like, the next few things. Like, for example, we're mostly talking on Signal these days. Because not only is it very safe and secure, like full support for Signal. I bought a Signal t-shirt the other day. I'm not wearing it though. But like it's also very cross-platform. Like it works awesome on every platform, which is not the case. iMessage does work on Mac and iPhone, but I don't think there's a good Android and or Linux desktop client, for example.
Not really. Not something I'd be happy to use.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, like, what are the cool things, and also like combinations of things. Like, for example, Lisa used to work for a company called Boxcryptor, which ran on your computer. It's a little app that will encrypt the files in your Dropbox before they are being uploaded to Dropbox.
Ooh.
They got bought by Dropbox actually. And so now the end-to-end encryption is kind of built into Dropbox, but because it is not something that you directly control, it's of course like harder to trust. It's probably fine, but whatever.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Something like that right now, I would love to have something like that. To have like my own, like to be able to control like kind of my own encryption and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking about it. Ask me. We'll see whether I'm in a place to talk about it on the next show. It might be one we have to punt a little way down the line, because I'm thinking, ask me when I've used this laptop for a month and I've actually encountered some of these I don't have my iCloud drive moments. I will no doubt have been forced to find my own solutions. So,
I'm actually trying a file sharing thing that is not iCloud right now. Like I'm trying it for the company because like we've so far used shared iCloud, but as we get more people and you want a bit more, like you want to just decouple the company owned files a bit more from my private iCloud account. I started using Jotacloud.
I do not know how to
which is a Scandinavian company. I'm gonna try and type it in. But I cannot. I am not allowed to touch. The cables.
No, I think, Daniel, we need to wrap the show before you disconnect the show.
So not a sponsor, but yeah, Jotacloud. Just please check. Do check us out, and if we want to sponsor it, like I wouldn't be opposed. Basically, file sync. It has Finder integration, and it has like rudimentary rights management, which is like, okay, this person can see this folder, and that person can see that folder. It seems to work quite nicely. I haven't discovered end-to-end encryption yet, and I'm still wondering if that's something that I want to enforce.
Yes.
So not a 100% recommendation yet, but it seems to work fine. It is cross-platform. It has fantastic Finder integration, which was something that was important for me.
That's good.
And it's Scandinavian, so whenever I see the icon on my desktop, I try to pronounce it as Scandinavian as possible. Jotacloud, which is kind of fun for me because I'm just that way.
Yeah. Bang.
So, thanks everyone for listening. Please rate us on iTunes and like us on YouTube. And also subscribe and hit the bell, and also post a selfie, and also post a little comment how you're feeling. Also do your chores. Think about when did you last wash your bed sheets? If that's longer than 3-4 weeks, maybe that's a good chore for after the show. Send us emails at contact@waitingforreview.com, and also join our Discord. The link is in the show notes. And Dave, where can people find you? Nowhere. People cannot find you because you're muted, and so you are invisible. But you're inaudible to our listeners.
Don't do this to me. You can find me on the Mastodons at dave@social.lightbeamapps.com. And,
fantastic.
Awesome.
Find me.
How about yourself, Daniel?
The Mastodons at daniel@social.telemetrydeck.com. or wherever Telemetry Deck is sold, which is on telemetrydeck.com. All right. Have a fantastic day. See you soon. And I hope your laptop arrives soon, and it will give you lots of pleasure and fun.
Thank you, mate. Catch you later.
Bye.